Crash landing. The vast emptiness of space shattered as a sleek, silver vessel burst through the darkness, its hull glowing red-hot from the speed of its flight. Inside, Queen Zira of the Luminari gripped the controls with her four-fingered hands, her iridescent skin shimmering with stress as she fought to keep the ship stable. "Computer, status report," she barked, her melodic voice strained. "Hull integrity at 37%, Your Majesty. Shields failing. Pursuer still in range." Zira's large, multifaceted eyes darted to the rear view screen. The menacing form of the Void Reaver ship loomed behind her, its obsidian surface seeming to absorb the very starlight around it. She had been fleeing for days, carrying vital information that could save not just her people, but countless civilizations across the galaxy. A blast from the Void Reaver rocked her ship, sending sparks flying from the control panel. Zira hissed in pain as her delicate exoskeleton was singed. "Computer, nearest habitable planet." Scanning. Nearest habitable planet is third from the local star. Preliminary data suggests primitive civilization, non-spacefaring. Zira's antenna twitched in frustration. It wasn't ideal, but she had no choice. Plot a course. Maximum stealth. The ship banked sharply, diving toward a blue-green orb hanging in space. As they breached the atmosphere, alarms blared throughout the cockpit. "Warning, critical system failure. Prepare for impact." Zira braced herself as the ship plummeted through clouds, the hull groaning under the strain. Through the viewscreen, she caught glimpses of vast oceans, green landmasses, and finally, a dense forest rushing up to meet her. The impact was deafening. Zira was thrown from her seat, her world becoming a chaotic blur of twisted metal and shattered crystal. When the ship finally came to rest, silence fell, broken only by the hiss of escaping gases and the crackle of electrical fires. Dazed and injured, Zira dragged herself from the wreckage. The air was thick and humid, filled with unfamiliar scents. She stumbled away from the crash site, her royal garments torn and stained, her normally regal bearing reduced to a pained limp. As the adrenaline of the crash faded, the gravity of her situation set in. She was stranded on an unknown world, pursued by a relentless enemy, with no way to contact her people. For the first time in her long life, Queen Zira felt truly alone. Miles away, in a small cabin nestled in the woods, Alex Chen jolted awake. The aspiring astronomer had fallen asleep at his telescope again, his latest attempt to catch a glimpse of a rumored comet. But it wasn't a celestial event that had woken him. It was the unmistakable rumble of something massive tearing through the atmosphere. Alex rushed outside, his heart pounding. The night sky was lit up by a streak of fire, far too close and moving far too erratically to be a meteor. He watched in awe as it disappeared behind the tree line, followed by a thunderous crash that shook the ground beneath his feet. Without a second thought, Alex grabbed his backpack, stuffing it with first aid supplies, water, and his satellite phone. Whatever had just fallen from the sky, he was determined to be the first to find it. As he set off into the woods, flashlight in hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change forever. For hours, Alex trekked through the dense forest, following the path of broken trees and scorched earth. The first rays of dawn were just beginning to peek through the canopy when he caught sight of something that made him stop in his tracks. There, in a small clearing, was a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. Tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light, the being before him was unmistakably alien. She, was clearly injured, leaning heavily against a tree, antenna drooping. Alex's scientific mind raced with questions, but his human compassion won out. He approached slowly, hands raised in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Hello," he called out softly. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Zira's head snapped up at the sound, her eyes widening in alarm. She hadn't expected to encounter one of the planet's inhabitants so soon. Her universal translator was damaged in the crash, leaving her unable to understand the strange sounds coming from the creature before her. But as she looked into the human's eyes, she saw something that transcended language: concern, genuine worry for her well-being, despite her alien appearance. It was a kindness she hadn't expected to find on this primitive world. Slowly, cautiously, Zira nodded, then gestured to her injuries. She needed help, and right now, this strange being was her only hope. Alex's face lit up with a mixture of excitement and determination. He might not understand what she was saying, but her gestures were clear enough. He approached carefully, offering her a bottle of water and some bandages from his pack. As he tended to her wounds, Alex's mind was reeling. He had dreamed of this moment his entire life, proof that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. But he had never imagined it would happen like this, with him playing nurse to an injured alien queen in the middle of the woods. Zira watched the human work with fascination. Despite their primitive technology, there was an ingenuity to their medical techniques that impressed her. When Alex finished bandaging a particularly nasty cut on her arm, she placed a hand on his shoulder in gratitude. The moment was shattered by a distant rumble. Zira's antenna shot up an alarm, and she grabbed Alex's arm, pointing urgently towards the sky. Even without words, her message was clear: danger was coming. Alex nodded, his expression hardening with resolve. Whatever had chased this alien to Earth, he wasn't about to let it harm her. He gestured for Zira to follow him, leading her deeper into the woods, away from the crash site. As they disappeared into the undergrowth, the sleek black form of a Void Reaver ship descended from the clouds, hovering over the forest. Its sensors probed the area, searching for any sign of the fugitive queen. But the dense canopy and the primitive nature of Earth's technology worked in Zira's favor. The Void Reavers, for all their advanced systems, weren't prepared for a planet where nature still held sway. Their scans came up empty, and after a tense hour, the ship reluctantly retreated to orbit, preparing for a more thorough search. Deep in the forest, in a hidden cave Alex had discovered during his many explorations, Zira finally allowed herself to relax. She looked at the human who had saved her, who was now busy setting up a makeshift camp in the cave, and felt a glimmer of hope. She might be stranded on a primitive world, hunted by a relentless enemy, but she wasn't alone. And if this human was any indication, perhaps the people of Earth weren't as primitive as she had first thought. As night fell, Zira and Alex sat at the mouth of the cave, gazing up at the stars. Neither could understand the other's words, but a bond had already begun to form. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. And unknown to both of them, their unlikely partnership was about to change the course of galactic history. Cosmic connections. The cave's cool darkness enveloped Zira and Alex as dawn broke over the forest. Alex stirred first, his eyes widening as he remembered the extraordinary events of the previous day. He glanced over at the alien queen, still marveling at her otherworldly beauty. Zira's iridescent skin pulsed softly in her sleep, casting a gentle glow on the cave walls. Her antenna twitched, perhaps dreaming of her distant home. Alex couldn't help but wonder what incredible sights those multifaceted eyes had witnessed across the stars. As if sensing his gaze, Zira awoke, her eyes focusing on Alex with a mix of curiosity and gratitude. She sat up, wincing slightly from her injuries, and began to examine the cave around them. Alex rummaged through his backpack, pulling out an old notebook and a pen. He had an idea. Sitting cross-legged in front of Zira, he began to sketch. First, he drew a simple stick figure, pointing to himself and saying, "Alex." Then he drew a crude representation of Zira, with a distinctive antenna and shimmering skin, and gestured towards her questioningly. Zira's eyes lit up with understanding. She pointed to herself and said, "Zira," her voice melodic and otherworldly. Alex grinned, excited by this small breakthrough in communication. He continued drawing, sketching out the solar system, pointing to Earth, then gesturing to Zira and raising his eyebrows in question. Zira understood. She gently took the pen from Alex and began to draw. Her artistic skills were far superior, and soon the notebook was filled with intricate diagrams of star systems Alex had never seen. She pointed to one, tapping it emphatically. "Luminara," she said, a hint of sadness in her voice. Alex nodded, his mind reeling at the implications. He was looking at a map of the galaxy, drawn by an alien queen. The sheer scope of it was almost overwhelming. But Zero wasn't finished. She flipped to a new page and began to draw again. This time, the images were darker, more ominous. A ship that seemed to absorb light itself, planets cracking apart, entire solar systems going dark. Alex's excitement turned to concern as he began to grasp the gravity of the situation. Whatever had chased Zero to Earth wasn't just a threat to her, but to the entire galaxy. As the day wore on, Alex and Zero continued their pictographic conversation. Slowly but surely, they began to piece together a common language of symbols and gestures. It was crude, but effective. Alex learned that Zero was not just any alien, but a queen of a vast interstellar civilization. She'd have fled her home with vital information about a cosmic threat known as the Void Reavers, a malevolent force consuming entire star systems. In turn, Zero learned about Earth, its diverse ecosystems, its complex history, and its potential. She was particularly fascinated by humanity's rapid technological advancement and their insatiable curiosity about the cosmos. As night fell once more, Alex made a decision. He couldn't keep Zero hidden in this cave forever. The world needed to know what was coming. But how could he introduce an alien queen to humanity without causing panic? Zero seemed to sense his dilemma. She placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch sending a tingling sensation through his body. In that moment, a plan began to form in Alex's mind. He would need help, and he knew just where to start. Pulling out his satellite phone, he dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Dr. Samantha Rivera, it's Alex Chen. Remember how you always said my wild theories about alien life would never amount to anything? Well, I've got something to show you that might change your mind." As Alex spoke, Zero watched him curiously. She didn't understand his words, but she could sense the determination in his voice. Whatever he was planning, she hoped it would help her warn this world about the coming darkness. Little did either of them know that their actions were about to set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the galaxy. Thousands of miles above them, in the cold vacuum of space, the Void Reaver ship hovered in Earth's orbit. Its sensors probed the planet relentlessly, searching for any sign of the fugitive queen. The ship's commander, a being of shadow and malice, grew increasingly frustrated. How can one primitive world hide her so effectively? It hissed to its subordinates. "Increase the scan intensity. I want every inch of this miserable planet examined. The Queen must not be allowed to warn them." As the Void Reaver ship intensified its scans, strange phenomena began to occur across the globe. Aurora-like lights appeared in the skies, even in regions far from the poles. Electronic devices experienced unexplained glitches. Astronomers reported bizarre readings from their telescopes. The world was beginning to notice that something wasn't right in the heavens above. Back in the forest, Alex and Zero emerged from their cave hideout. They needed to move, to find a way to communicate Zero's warning to the world. But first, they had to evade the watchful eyes in the sky. Zero's antenna twitched, sensing the increased scanning activity. She grabbed Alex's arm, pulling him under the dense canopy of the forest. Using her alien senses, she guided them through paths that seemed to confuse the scans from above. As they traveled, Alex was struck by the irony of their situation. Here he was, a human guiding an alien through Earth's wilderness, while simultaneously relying on her alien senses to avoid detection. It was a partnership unlike any in human history. Their journey took them through breathtaking landscapes, misty valleys, rushing rivers, and towering mountains. Zero marveled at the raw, untamed beauty of Earth. Her own world, Luminara, had long since been fully urbanized. Seeing such pristine wilderness filled her with a sense of wonder she hadn't felt since she was a young princess. Alex, for his part, saw his familiar world through new eyes. Watching Zira's reactions to Earth's natural wonders rekindled his own appreciation for his home planet. He found himself pointing out various plants and animals to her, explaining their significance through their shared pictographic language. As they trekked through a particularly dense part of the forest, Zira suddenly froze. Her antenna quivered, and she pulled Alex down into a hollow beneath a fallen tree. Moments later, a low hum filled the air as a drone flew overhead, its sensors sweeping the area. Alex held his breath, acutely aware of how close they had come to discovery. When the drone finally moved on, he turned to Zira, his eyes wide with questions. Zira quickly sketched in the dirt a crude representation of the drone, connected to the ominous ship she had drawn earlier. The message was clear: the Void Reavers were stepping up their search. They needed to move faster, to reach civilization before it was too late. But as they prepared to set out again, a new sound reached their ears, human voices, coming closer. Alex and Zira exchanged a look of alarm. They were about to have their first encounter with other humans. Would they be friend or foe? Would they help protect Zira or hand her over to the authorities? As the voices grew louder, Alex made a split-second decision. He gestured for Zira to stay hidden, then stepped out to meet the approaching group. Whatever happened next would determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of the entire planet. The future of Earth and its place in the galactic community hung in the balance, all hinging on this moment, deep in the heart of the forest. Humanity's quantum leap. The forest clearing tensed with anticipation as Alex stepped out to face the approaching voices. His heart hammered in his chest, acutely aware that Zira's safety, and potentially Earth's future, hung on what happened next. To his immense relief, he recognized the lead figure emerging from the undergrowth. Dr. Samantha Rivera, his former mentor and one of the world's leading xenobiologists, strode into view. Her weathered face broke into a mixture of exasperation and curiosity upon seeing Alex. "Chen, you better have a damn good reason for dragging me out to the middle of nowhere," she grumbled, adjusting her glasses. Alex took a deep breath. "Dr. Rivera, what I'm about to show you will rewrite everything we know about the universe." He turned towards Zira's hiding spot and nodded. The assembled group of scientists gasped collectively as Zira gracefully emerged from her concealment. Her iridescent skin shimmered in the dappled sunlight, antenna twitching curiously as she regarded the humans. Dr. Rivera's jaw dropped. "Impossible," she whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "This is Zira," Alex explained, his voice trembling with excitement. "She's a queen from a distant world, and she needs our help." What followed was a flurry of activity as the scientists, overcoming their initial shock, began to document everything about Zira. Dr. Rivera, her initial skepticism shattered, took charge of the situation. "We need to get her to a secure facility immediately," she declared. "The implications of this are staggering." As they prepared to move, Alex pulled Dr. Rivera aside. "There's more," he said gravely. "Zira's not just here by accident. There's a threat coming, something that makes first contact look like a footnote in comparison." Dr. Rivera's expression hardened. "Explain, now." Over the next hour, as they carefully transported Zira to a hidden research facility, Alex relayed everything he had learned about the Void Reavers. The scientists listened with growing concern, the enormity of the situation sinking in. At the facility, a team of linguists and xenobiologists worked tirelessly to establish better communication with Zira. Progress was rapid, aided by Zira's own advanced intellect and the rudimentary system of communication she and Alex had developed. As Zira's warning became clearer, the atmosphere in the facility grew tense. The Void Reavers weren't just a threat to her world, they were a cosmic plague, consuming entire galaxies in their insatiable hunger for energy. Dr. Rivera, her face pale with the weight of this knowledge, made a decision. "We need to inform the world's governments. This is bigger than scientific discovery. It's about the survival of our species. What followed was unprecedented in human history. In a secure, globally broadcast conference, world leaders were introduced to Zira and informed of the looming threat. Initial disbelief quickly gave way to grim determination as the reality of their situation set in. In a stunning display of unity, traditional rivalries were set aside. A global task force was formed, combining the brightest minds and most advanced technologies from every nation. Zira, for her part, was awestruck by humanity's response. Where her own people had taken centuries to unite, these primitive humans had done so in a matter of days when faced with a common threat. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Zira worked closely with human scientists, sharing her advanced knowledge of physics and technology. This exchange of information led to breakthroughs that would have taken humanity decades to achieve on their own. Quantum computing, once a theoretical field, made leaps forward. Advanced AI systems, bolstered by Zira's insights, began to process and analyze data at unprecedented speeds. Engineers and physicists worked around the clock, integrating alien concepts with human ingenuity. Perhaps most crucially, Zira helped humanity understand the principles behind her people's faster-than-light communication. This technology was vital not just for coordinating a defense against the Void Reavers, but for potentially calling for help from other alien civilizations. As humanity raced to prepare, Alex found himself at the center of it all. His unique bond with Zira made him an invaluable intermediary between human and alien knowledge. He watched in awe as the world transformed around him, decades of technological advancement compressed into mere weeks. But even as humanity made these incredible strides, the threat loomed ever closer. The Void Reaver ship in orbit had called for reinforcements. Soon, an armada would arrive, intent on snuffing out this world that dared to harbor their quarry. In a secret facility deep beneath the New Mexico desert, Alex stood with Zira, watching as humans scurried about, assembling the planet's first faster-than-light communication array. "Do you think we'll be ready in time?" he asked, the weight of billions of lives heavy in his voice. Zira placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, her touch sending a familiar tingle through his body. "Your people have already accomplished the impossible," she said, her mastery of English improving daily. "If any species can survive this, it's humanity." As if in response to her words, a scientist across the room let out a whoop of triumph. "It's working," she cried. "We've established contact." Alex and Zira rushed over to the console. On the screen, a message pulsed in an alien script that Zira recognized with a gasp of joy. "It's my people," she breathed. "The Luminari have received our distress call. They're coming." A cheer went up around the room, but Alex noticed Zira's expression remained troubled. "What is it?" he asked. "They won't arrive in time," she said softly. "The Void Reavers will be here first. We must face the initial assault alone." The room fell silent as her words sank in. They had accomplished miracles, but would it be enough? As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. On every screen, the same message flashed. Multiple objects detected entering solar system. Estimated time to Earth orbit, 72 hours. The Void Reavers had arrived. Humanity's time was up. Alex squared his shoulders, meeting Zira's gaze with determination. "Then we'll just have to show these Void Reavers why they shouldn't have underestimated a primitive world." Around them, humans sprang into action with renewed vigor. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity would face it united, standing alongside their new alien ally. As preparations for Earth's defense kicked into high gear, Alex couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. In just a few short weeks, humanity had advanced centuries. Now, they would put everything on the line to defend not just their world, but the entire galaxy. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of Earth and its place in the cosmic order. And at the heart of it all stood an unlikely pair, a human astronomer and an alien queen, Their bond forged in adversity, now the linchpin in humanity's greatest challenge. Quantum entanglement warfare. The skies above Earth crackled with energy as the Void Reaver Armada entered the atmosphere. Their obsidian ships, each the size of a small city, cast ominous shadows over the world's major population centers. Humanity watched in a mixture of awe and terror as their worst fears materialized before their eyes. But Earth was not defenseless. In the weeks leading up to this moment, the planet had undergone a transformation unlike anything in its history. Massive quantum entanglement arrays, hastily constructed using Zera's advanced knowledge and human ingenuity, hummed to life across the globe. These devices, barely understood even by the scientists who built them, were humanity's secret weapon. In a hidden bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Alex and Zera stood before a holographic display of the planet, surrounded by military leaders and scientific minds from every nation. The Void Reaver's primary weapon is their ability to drain energy, Zera explained, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. But thanks to the quantum entanglement technology we've developed, we can instantaneously redistribute energy across the entire planet. They can't drain what they can't pin down. General Zhang, representing China's military, leaned forward, and our offensive capabilities. Alex stepped in, pulling up a schematic of a sleek, almost organic-looking craft. We call it the Starburst. It's a fusion of luminary tech and human innovation. These ships can phase in and out of normal space-time, making them nearly impossible to hit. Plus, they're armed with quantum-tipped missiles that can bypass the Void Reaver's energy-absorbing shields. The room buzzed with a mixture of hope and apprehension. It was untested technology against an enemy that had decimated entire galaxies, but it was all they had. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the bunker. On the main screen, red dots representing Void Reaver ships began their descent. "They're starting their attack," Zera said grimly. "It's time." Around the world, humanity's defenses sprang to life. The quantum entanglement grid activated, creating a shimmering energy field that enveloped the planet. As the first Void Reaver energy drains hit, the grid redistributed the load, preventing any one area from being overwhelmed. In orbit, the first wave of Starburst fighters engaged the enemy. The pilots, trained in simulators based on Zera's knowledge of space combat, executed maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Quantum-tipped missiles phased through Void Reaver shields, detonating within their hulls. But the Void Reavers were not easily defeated. Their ships, monstrous and implacable, unleashed barrages of dark energy weapons. Where they hit, matter itself seemed to unravel. On the ground, things were just as chaotic. Void Reaver dropships breached the atmosphere, deploying ground troops unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Soldiers made of living shadow, absorbing light and life around them. Yet here too, humanity had prepared. Quantum-entangled armor allowed human soldiers to phase through Void Reaver attacks. Weapons powered by miniature fusion reactors, based on luminary designs, proved effective against the shadow troops. In New York, the Statue of Liberty stood defiant, now a colossal quantum relay station. In Beijing, the Great Wall pulsed with energy, each ancient stone now a node in the planetary defense grid. The pyramids of Giza house a massive quantum computer, coordinating the global response. Back in the Rocky Mountain bunker, Alex and Zera coordinated the global defense. Their unique bond, a bridge between human and alien thought, proved invaluable in predicting and countering Void Reaver tactics. "They're adapting," Zera warned, her antenna twitching with nervous energy. "The quantum grid is holding, but they're learning to target the nodes." Alex nodded grimly. "We need to buy more time. The Luminary fleet won't be here for another 6 hours." As if in response to his words, a massive Void Reaver ship, easily twice the size of the others, descended from the clouds. Its very presence seemed to dim the sun. "It's their mothership," Zera gasped. "If it breaches the quantum grid, we're finished." Alex's mind raced. They needed a game-changer. something the Void Reavers couldn't possibly anticipate. His eyes fell on an experimental device in the corner of the room, something they had developed but deemed too risky to use. "The quantum entanglement bomb," he whispered. Zira followed his gaze, her multifaceted eyes widening in understanding. "Alex, no," she said. "It's untested. The risks are better than certain defeat," Alex finished. He turned to the room. "We have one shot at this. We need to get that bomb onto their mothership." The plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal. Using a starburst ship, a small team would phase directly into the Void Reaver mothership. They would plant the quantum entanglement bomb at its core, then escape before detonation. "I'm going," Alex said, his voice leaving no room for argument. Zero grabbed his arm. "Then I'm coming with you." My knowledge of Void Reaver ship layouts could mean the difference between success and failure. For a moment, Alex wanted to protest to keep her safe, but he knew she was right. This mission would determine the fate of not just Earth, but countless worlds across the galaxy. They would face it together. As they prepared to depart, donning the most advanced armor Earth and luminary tech could produce, Alex turned to Zira. Words seemed inadequate for the moment, but he had to try. "Zira, whatever happens up there, I want you to know." She placed a finger on his lips, silencing him. "I know," she said softly. "Me too." With a final nod to each other, they boarded the starburst ship. As the hangar doors opened, revealing the chaos of the battle raging overhead, Alex felt a strange calm settle over him. Win or lose, humanity had already achieved the impossible. They had united, advanced, and now stood as equals among the stars. The ship rocketed into the sky, facing in and out of reality as it dodged Void Reaver fire. Ahead loomed their target, the massive mothership, a void in the shape of a vessel, threatening to swallow the very light of the sun. Alex gripped the controls, Zira by his side, as they made their final approach. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy itself, rested on what would happen in the next few minutes. As they phased through the mothership's hull, entering the belly of the beast, Alex allowed himself a small smile. Whatever the outcome, the Void Reavers were about to learn a valuable lesson: never underestimate a primitive world. The final battle for Earth had reached its crescendo, and at its heart were a human and an alien queen, that unlikely bond now the galaxy's greatest hope. Cosmic resonance. The interior of the Void Reaver mothership was a nightmarish landscape of twisting corridors and pulsating organic machinery. Alex and Zira moved swiftly through the alien vessel, their quantum-facing armor allowing them to pass through walls and avoid patrols of shadow troops. "The core should be just ahead," Zira whispered, her antenna twitching as she sensed the massive energy signature. As they rounded a corner, they found themselves in a vast chamber. At its center floated a swirling vortex of dark energy, tendrils of void stuff reaching out hungrily. By the stars, Alex breathed, awe-struck despite the danger. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying way." Zira nodded grimly. "And capable of devouring entire star systems. We need to plant the bomb and get out of here." But as they approached the core, alarms blared throughout the ship. They had been detected. Intruders in the core. All units converge. The ship's internal communication system boomed in a language that sounded like the grinding of tectonic plates, but their universal translators rendered it in chilling clarity. "We're out of time," Alex said, pulling the quantum entanglement bomb from his pack. "Cover me while I set this up." Zira took up a defensive position, her luminary energy staff humming to life. Shadow troops poured into the chamber, their void black forms seeming to drink in the light around them. As Alex worked feverishly to on the bomb, Zira became a whirlwind of motion. Her staff flashed, each strike sending ripples of quantum disruption through the shadow troops, causing them to dissipate into nothingness. But for each one she felled, two more took its place. They were being overwhelmed. "Alex, hurry," Zira called out, her voice strained as she fended off another wave of attackers. Almost there, Alex grunted, his fingers flying over the bomb's control panel. "We just need a few more seconds." Suddenly, a new figure entered the chamber. Towering over the shadow troops, its form constantly shifting and roiling like a storm cloud, was the Void Reaver commander. "Foolish creatures," it boomed, its voice resonating on a frequency that made Alex's teeth vibrate. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. We are the void itself." The commander raised a limb, dark energy coalescing around it. Zira, seeing the danger, leaped towards Alex, pushing him aside just as a beam of pure darkness lanced through the space where he had been standing. "Zira!" Alex cried out as she collapsed, her armor smoking where the beam had grazed her. Rage and desperation fueled Alex as he turned back to the bomb. With a final keystroke, he activated it. The device hummed to life, quantum tendrils reaching out to connect with the dark energy core. "It's done," he said, scooping up the injured Zira. "We need to get out of here now." But the Void Reaver commander blocked their path to escape. "You will not leave this ship alive," it snarled. In that moment, as hope seemed lost, something extraordinary happened. The quantum entanglement bomb, instead of detonating, began to resonate with the dark energy core. Waves of quantum probability cascaded through the chamber. Alex felt a strange sensation, as if his consciousness was expanding. He could suddenly perceive multiple realities, countless possibilities layered upon each other, and in every one of them he saw Zira by his side. The Void Reaver commander howled in agony as its form began to destabilize. "What have you done?" it shrieked. Zira, recovering from her injury, stood shakily. Her eyes widened as she too began to perceive the quantum cascade. "Alex," she gasped, "I understand now. The bomb isn't destroying the ship, it's rewriting its very nature." As they watched in awe, the dark energy at the ship's core began to shift. The hungry void was replaced by a swirling nexus of vibrant cosmic energy. The shadow troops flickered and transformed, their dark forms giving way to beings of pure light. The Void Reaver commander, its form no longer menacing but radiant, turned to Alex and Zira. "We, remember," it said, its voice now melodious. "Before we were the void, we were the guardians of creation. You have awakened us from an eons-long nightmare." Outside the ship, the battle for Earth took an unexpected turn. The Void Reaver fleet, connected quantum entangled to the mothership, underwent the same transformation. Ships that had been dealing death and destruction now pulsed with life-giving energy. On Earth, humans watched in disbelief as the sky filled with aurora-like displays. The quantum defense grid, instead of repelling the alien energy, began to harmonize with it. A wave of revitalization swept across the planet, healing the damage done by the invasion. Back on the mothership, Alex and Zira stood hand in hand, marveling at the cosmic beauty surrounding them. "We did it," Alex said, his voice filled with wonder. "But I don't think anyone could have predicted this outcome." Zira squeezed his hand, her iridescent skin glowing with renewed vitality. "Perhaps this is what the universe intended all along. Not a battle of annihilation, but a chance for redemption and growth." As they made their way back to their ship, they were joined by the transformed commander. "We owe you a debt that can never be repaid," it said. "Allow us to help rebuild what we nearly destroyed." In the days that followed, Earth became the center of a galactic renaissance. The arrival of the Luminary fleet, prepared for war but finding peace, marked the beginning of a new era of cosmic cooperation. Humanity, having proven its worth in the face of extinction, was welcomed into the galactic community not as a junior member, but as a full partner. Their unique perspective and innovative spirit were hailed as vital components in the ongoing evolution of cosmic civilization. Zira, no longer just a queen in exile, became a bridge between worlds. Her experiences on Earth had transformed her as surely as the quantum bomb had transformed the Void Reavers. She worked tirelessly to foster understanding and cooperation between species. And Alex, the human who had dared to befriend an alien queen, found himself at the forefront of a new age of exploration. The quantum technologies born from the crucible of Earth's defense opened up new frontiers in space travel and communication. As they stood together on a terraformed Mars, watching the first interstellar embassy being constructed, Alex turned to Zira. "You know," he said with a smile, "when I wished upon a star as a kid, I never imagined it would lead to all this." Zira's antenna twitched in amusement. "The universe, my dear Alex, is full of wonders beyond imagining. And thanks to you and your remarkable species, we now have eternity to explore them together." As the twin moons of Mars rose over the horizon, casting a soft glow on the red planet's transformed landscape, Alex and Zira shared a moment of quiet reflection. Their journey, which had begun with a crash landing and a desperate bid for survival, had blossomed into something far greater than either of them could have ever anticipated. The story of Earth's ascension to the cosmic stage, of humanity's quantum leap into a new era, would be told across the galaxy for eons to come. And at the heart of that story would always be the unlikely pair who had proven that even in the darkest void, hope and love could ignite a cosmic resonance capable of transforming the very fabric of reality itself. As they gazed up at the star-filled sky, now a realm of infinite possibility rather than an alien frontier, Alex and Zira knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. The universe, in all its vast and wondrous complexity, awaited, and humanity, once thought primitive, had proven itself ready to take its place among the stars.